All right, Shalawam, Shalawam family. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all glory, and all honor to the Most High God, Yahawah. Of course, I do so in the name of God's Son. Hamashiach Yahawashi, who the world English called Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm out here in the backyard today. A little change of scenery. Oh, there's where the echo was. So like I had the actual live stream up in another tab. So it's the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We entered into the Feast of Unleavened Bread day 7 last night at even, and right now the sun is getting ready to set, and we'll be entering to the actual Shabbat. All right. So we're entering into day 22 of the first month of the Bib. Right. So right now we're just doing some prep here, getting ready for the Shabbat, and just wanted to come on here and answer some questions concerning the feast day calendar. Just do a little explanation for you guys, right, through the spirit. All right. So actually, let's remove that. All right. So actually, before we dive in here, right, let's what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up the calendar. Give me 1 second, family. Hope y'all all having a beautiful feast through the spirit. And let's go ahead and pull up the calendar. All right. So there's the HOB feast day calendar. Right. If you need a copy of the calendar, please reach out to us. You can email, you can DM me on Instagram. You can also email me. Let me pull up my email. Right. You can email me here. As well as the email at the bottom of the screen. Okay. So let's dive into this, right? So last night we went and explained how we keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? So on Pesach, which is day 14, okay, you start eating unleavened bread. You eat unleavened bread with the Passover lamb, okay? So what we have to understand and establish is that a Hebrew day is evening to evening, right? So from the sun is down, right, when the sky is dark until the sun is getting ready to set on the next day, that's a day in the Hebrew world, okay? I know there's a lot of confusion. Actually, the brothers over on Inside the Nation, they had a dialogue and a debate with people who believe that the day is from morning to morning. If you think that a day in the Hebrew is morning to morning, you're an idiot. I'm just going to be honest with you. You just do not understand the Bible at all, right? And a lot of you guys, listen, let me get a scripture real quick. It's got a new sword, right? Just got this new sword here off Amazon. It's the KJV with the Apocrypha, and it's only like 30-something bucks. So, only thing about this is that it has the book of 3rd Maccabees, which is pseudo. But other than that, this joint is fire, right? So let me go to the book of Hebrews. Hebrews 5. This joint is brand spanking new. All right, so I'm sorry, Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 8. It says, though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. Right. So Christ learned obedience, right? And it says, verse 9, and being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him. Now, that's important, right? We were taught in the Christian church that all we have to do is believe. We have to obey the words of Yahawashi. Okay? We have to. Let me go ahead and switch. No, there we go. Yeah, I'm working on getting all of my transitions and everything here in the there we go, right? I'm working on getting these together through the spirit. Gotta do a lot of playing around in here in StreamYard, but we were taught in the church that we just have to believe in Christ. That's it, right? But as we're reading here in the so-called New Testament, in the book of Hebrews chapter 5, right? We have to obey Christ, right? And what did Christ teach, right? You know, here at the House of Bread, our motto, right? Our, tagline is Matthew 4:4. As it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, right? So that's what Christ taught, right? That's what he taught his followers, right? So now we have to, in all of this craziness that's going on in the nation, right? All of the shots being fired, the back and forth. Right now, there's a war, right, going on between two prominent congregations, right? And all of that's in line with biblical prophecy. But here in these last days, it's important that we understand that turning to our righteousness, right, keeping the law, statutes, commandments that the Most High God gave to us, right, through His Word to Moses, to us, right. When you understand that when Moses was up on the mountain getting the commandments, he was talking with Yahweh's representative. He was talking with Yahweh's similitude, right? His express image, his son, his word, right? So let's keep reading. It says, and being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him, called of God and high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Verse 11, of whom we have many things to say and hard to be uttered, seeing ye are dull of hearing. For the time ye ought to be teachers. Ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as need of milk and not of strong meat. For everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness. The word of righteousness. What is the word of righteousness? The law, right? These are the words that, the Most High spoke through his word, through his son, to Moses, to us, right? When you understand that, right? In Deuteronomy chapter 6, the last two verses, it lets us know that this law shall be our righteousness if we keep all these commandments, right? So let's keep reading. It says, for everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe, right? Right now, my wife is pregnant. All praise to the Most High. And, when our son is born, right, he's going to drink milk. He's going to be weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast, right? We'll get that precept in a second, right? So that's what a lot of these so-called leaders, these so-called teachers, and then a lot of these just niggas online who just run their mouths. They think they're teachers, they think they're scholars, and they're really not, right? Let's be honest, right? Verse 14, but strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. Now, the law of God is the standard of what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's evil, right? We were given choices, right? We were given an option: choose ye life and good, or death and evil, right? Obeying God get you the blessings, get you being exalted above all nations, breaking God's commandments, being disobedient to the Most High God, to the word of righteousness, is what got us cursed here in the first place, right? This is why we're scattered amongst the nations, right? This is why we're in captivity. And this is why we have to come back to the basics, right? We have to come back to the basics. Everyone wants to go into, deep, dark breakdowns. And guess what? I love going into breakdowns, right? Going into prophecy. But right now, there needs to be a focus on keeping of the law, right? So now let me give me a second, family, because I'm out here, right? We're preparing for Shabbat, right? And there we go. Perfect. Give me a second. All right, so yeah, like I said, I'm preparing for the Shabbat, and it's out here grilling, right? So where was I? All right. So again, let me read Hebrews 5:14. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, right? When we read in the books of Genesis, right, we see, there was a time where there was a celebration because Sarah weaned Isaac, right? He was weaned off of the teat, right? Off of the breast, okay? A lot of us in the community, right? A lot of people who are on the internet, right? Doing all this talking, right? They have not been weaned from the breast. They have not been, come of full age, right? So, but strong meat belongs to them that are full age, even those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. So again, if you don't even know the difference between, if you don't know how to keep the feast days or how to calculate the feast days, right? You shouldn't be having conversations or debates about when a Hebrew day starts. Like, you clearly don't understand Hebrew customs and Hebrew, just Hebrew idioms. You don't understand any of that, right? You don't. We're so far removed from our culture, right? And we have no king. And as the scriptures say that, there was no king in Israel, and every man did what was right in his own eye, right? That's the reality of our current state as a nation, right? So now we're talking about the sincere milk, right? The being weaned from the milk. So let's go to the book of. This is a beautiful Bible, man. And again, because is a today, right now, it's a Shabbat one, and I'll go into that, right? Today is a Shabbat one, and when the sun sets, right, when the sky is dark, we will be in the Shabbat, okay? And I'll explain the difference in a minute, but let me just go to book of Isaiah. Yeah, like I said, this is a new sword. All praise to the Most High, right? So Isaiah 28, right? And truly, when we look at the context of Isaiah 28, right? Hebrew Israelites have been using precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, in a way that takes away from the true essence and the meaning of what's going on in the context of Isaiah the 28th chapter, right? When brothers are on the streets or, in class, right, and they say precept, right? The word precept means commandment. That's it. It means commandment, right? A supporting verse is not a precept. We should stop saying precept, because if I'm reading in the law and you go to Paul, right? Paul could be talking about the same thing in the law, but what Paul wrote is not a precept. It's not a commandment, because that's what the word precept means. It means commandment, right? So when we look at Isaiah 28, verse 1, it said, so the heading says, woe to Ephraim, right? It says, woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower, which are on the head of the fat valleys of them that are overcome with wine, right? When we look at this prophecies, wine is synonymous with doctrine, right? The scriptures say that we become drunk, but not with strong drink, right? The scriptures say that he transgressed by wine, right? Wine is synonymous with doctrine prophetically. Okay, so that's the context of Isaiah 28, right? But let's go down to Isaiah 28, and I'm gonna jump down to verse 5. It says, in that day shall the Lord of hosts be for a crown of glory and for a diadem of beauty unto the residue of his people, the remnant of his people, and for a spirit of judgment to him that sitteth in judgment, and for strength to them that turn the battle to the gate. But they also have erred through wine. They have erred through wine, through false doctrine, right? And through strong drink are out of the way. The priest and the prophet have erred through strong drink. They are swallowed up of wine. They are out of the way through strong drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment. And that's what we see what's going on right now in the nation, right? This is, of course, talking about Ephraim specifically, right? The northern kingdom specifically at that time when Isaiah prophesied. But there's no new thing under the sun, right? We live in a world and a reality that is, it's cyclical, right? The same way that the sun comes up, it sets, the moon comes out, and it sets, and it's every day, circle of life, right? The stars in the sky, they move in the firmament in their circuits, circle of life. The seasons come, right? It's a cycle, right? So let's keep reading. Verse 8, it says, for all the tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept, commandment, right? That's what the word precept means, commandment. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and with another tongue will he speak to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest. And this is the refreshing, yet they would not hear. Right. So again, the prophets came and rebuked our people over and over and over and over again. Right. The Most High God sent out his mouthpieces, right, the prophets, to prophesy, right, and to rebuke our people, to tell them to first return. If you don't return, XYZ is going to happen. All these calamities, all of this destruction is going to happen, right? It says, verse 13, but the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they may go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken. And that's what happened, right? The northern kingdom was taken into Assyria, right? So Isaiah is prophesying against northern kingdom specifically, right? And they're grabbing, commandments, right, here and there a little, right? But they're putting them in a way, and they're coming up with loopholes, right? They're finding ways to not keep the commandments, right? It's the same thing that's happening today, right? So then he goes into so there's more in Isaiah 28, right? But that's the point, right? That we have to be drawn from the milk, right? We have to seek the sincere milk of the scriptures, right? Which be the first principles of the oracles of God, right? Actually, it's one here, sincere milk. Give me a second. I believe it's in one of Peter's epistles, sincere. milk. Yeah, 1 Peter chapter 2:2. As newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word that ye may grow thereby. Right. So we have to be raised up in the first principles of the oracles of God, which is the Torah. That's the foundation. The same way a baby doesn't come out the womb and he's not yamming on a filet mignon, right? He's not yamming on chicken nuggets. He's not yamming on, a ribeye. Babies drink milk, right? And our king, our big brother, right? He charged his servants to go out to the highways and hedges and bid our people to marriage and to feed the sheep, right? So that's what we're focused on. We're focused on feeding the sheep and feeding the sheep with the first principles of the oracles of God with the sincere milk, right? So with that said, right, let's take a look at, let's go to the book of Leviticus. We're going to jump around. We're going to go from the Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. So it says, Leviticus 23 and verse 1. And Yahawah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of Yahawah, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. Right? So let's look at the first feast that's mentioned, right? The first feast that's mentioned is the Sabbath, right? Again, it's the Shabbat, but today is a Shabbath-wan, and I'll dive into that, right? So we zoom in here, right? We're on this day, right? This is day 21 of the month, right? This is day 1. This is day 8, day 14, day 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We're on the 21st day, right? And tomorrow is the 22nd day, is the Sabbath, right? So the first feast day that's mentioned is the Sabbath, right? So it says 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahawah in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of Yahawah, holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. So in the seasons, right? Seasons, we have 4 seasons, right? We typically have 12 months, right? 12 months, 4 seasons. Each season is roughly 3 months, right? We also have something called Second Adar, which is known as an intercalary month, which is necessary so that the seasons align, right? So we come up with the Second Adar, I think it's like three, I forget the exact numbers, a few times every 19 years, right? I think it's like 3 times every 19 years. Don't quote me on that, right? Anyway, let's see. Anyway, so let's dive into it, right? So now let's go to the book of Sirach. Sirach Ecclesiasticus, chapter 46. Sirach 43. And just looking at the top, we'll start from the top. It says, the pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven, with his glorious show. The sun, when it appeareth, declaring at the rising a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. At noon it parcheth the country, and who can abide in the burning heat thereof? A man blowing a furnace as in works of heat, but the sun burneth the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors and sending forth bright beams. It dimmeth the eyes, right? So when you go out on a nice sunny day, right? It's overcast. I think it's supposed to be storming in a bit. Actually, I'm going to move this indoors, guys, before I get rained on with my laptop. All praises. Let me make sure I have my mic. Check. Let me get a one in the chat if you guys can hear me. One in the chat if you guys can hear me. Anyway, all praise to the Most High. Again, so any scoffers coming here to ask me a stupid question about, something that literally has zero credence, right? Based off of the screenshots of a group of people who, I don't know, they have their own crazy allegations that they need to deal with. You're getting booted, right? You're getting booted right out the chat, because this is for people who are sincere and who want to learn the truth, who want to learn how to properly serve God, right? All of you scoffers, listen, today's not the day. Now, where was I? So, I was in the book of Sirach, and Sirach 43. And when we look at, like I said, the sky, right, the firmament, which the Most High God created, and put lights in the sky for signs and seasons, right? That's what we read in the Torah, right? In Genesis, right? With that in mind, let's read Sirach, the 43rd chapter. So the title, the heading here, this is a very interesting KJV. This is a Thomas Nelson version, right? So this is the Holy Bible containing the Old and New Testament and the Apocrypha, translated out the original tongues, and with the former translations diligently compared and revised. Authorized King James Version, Red Letter Edition. All right, this is the Thomas Nelson KJV. So, we have this guy, right? This fat guy that likes to wear Kangol, right? Who loves, antagonizing the Israelite community, who had the nerve to run his mouth and say that guy Ariel, the guy who rewrote the Bible. So why didn't you say anything about Thomas Nelson or the various other translations that's come out over the past, I don't know, 100 years, right? So anyway, Sirach 43 in verse 1, it says, the pride of the height and clear firmament, the beauty of heaven with his glorious show. The sun, when it appeareth, declaring at his season a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. At noon it parcheth the country, and who can abide the burning heat thereof? A man blowing a furnace is in works of heat, but the sun burneth the mountains 3 times more. Breathing out fiery vapors and sending forth bright beams, it dimmeth the eyes. Great is the Lord that made it, and at his commandment runneth hastily. Okay, verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season, for a declaration of times and a sign of the world, right? So when we look into the Hebrew, right, of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, like these feast days, they're called Mawa'id, Mawa'idiyum, right, which are times, right, appointed times, okay? So let's pick up back here in Sirach Ecclesiasticus chapter 43, verse 6. It says, he made the moon also to serve in her season, for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feasts. From the moon is the sign of feasts. From the moon is the sign of feasts, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name. Okay? Increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. So the luminaries are known as the hosts of heaven, right? Known as the hosts of heaven. They're the armies above, right? And I'm going to go into a deeper breakdown, going into the hosts of heaven and the divine council, and how these different lights in the skies, they have different Elohim, right? Different Allahim, different sons of God that the Most High God has over these different luminaries that the heathen worship, right? So when the heathen are worshiping the sun, the moon, and the stars, right, they're actually worshiping the sons of God, right? They're worshiping the angels, okay? So that's a deeper understanding and breakdown, right? So let's get back to the milk. It says, the beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, an ornament giving light. Ashalakia. We'll go back to verse 8. It says, verse 7, it says, from the moon is the sign of feasts, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. When the moon is perfect, it means it's full. Once it's full, it decreases, right? And then it goes on to say, the month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing. So when the new month begins, the new moon, right? It's the dark moon, right? Some brothers use the first crescent. It's a day off. It's a day difference. Not that big of a deal, right? But there are people, right? The same way that there were people 2,000 years ago known as the Essenes, who teach that the full moon is the new moon, which is the most ridiculous asinine thing ever, right? So the month, verse 7, from the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven, right? So the moon is the sign of feast, and the first feast that we see mentioned in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, is the Sabbath. So the Sabbath is not predicated upon a Gregorian solar calendar, right? It's just not, right? It is a feast, and like all feasts, is determined by the lunar phases, okay? So when we look here at these Sabbaths, right? Let's just go to a month where it's just no other feast days, right? Month 3, right? So the new moon is dark, right? The second moon, or the second phase of the moon, right? During the second Sabbath, again, all the new moon is a Sabbath. All new moons are Sabbaths, right? They're Sabbaths. We're going to go into the difference between a Sabbath and a Shabbat one in a minute, right? But all new moons are Sabbaths, okay? But not every Sabbath is the new moon, right? Like today, like Sabbath 2, it's not the new moon. The day of the new moon is a Sabbath, okay? So we have day 1, the moon is dark. Then day 2, Sabbath number 2, Shabbat 2, right? This is when the moon is half full on the right-hand side, right? Sabbath number 3 is when the moon is full. And Sabbath number 4 is the half moon, but the left side of the moon is lit, okay? So that's how our Sabbath cycles work, our Shabbat cycles work. Now, when we look at how the other feast days tie in, right, we get the concept of Shabbat wands, or special Sabbaths, where there's special parameters. When we look at the Sabbath, you're not allowed to kindle a fire, right? You're supposed to prepare, right? Bake what you're going to bake prior, sieve what you're going to sieve prior, right? You don't work, you don't kindle fires, right? You don't cook, right? You don't do any business, right? That's what it means to not work, to not do any business and servile work, right? That's what you don't do on the Shabbat. It's a day of rest, right? Everything must cease, okay? So now, let's go back up here to the first month, right? So now let's go back to Leviticus 23 and starting at verse 5. It says, in the 14th day on the first month at even is the Lord's Passover, right? So this is day 1, this is day 8, this is day 14, right? It says, and on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahawah. 7 days, right? So previously, right, the Feast of Unleavened Bread was running on the Sakari calendars for 8 days total, from Sabbath to Sabbath. That's incorrect, right? And I'm going to demonstrate. On the 15th day, right? On the 15th day, Salakia, of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto Yahawah. 7 days must ye eat unleavened bread. So day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? You eat unleavened bread for the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay. It says, but that's like it. Verse 7. It says, in the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Right? A holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work, right? No servile work, okay? So actually, I forgot to put that down there, right? But no servile work on day 1 and on day 7 of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, meaning you don't go to your plantation, right? The only work that's permitted is work concerning the keeping of the feast, okay? So it says, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire. So you can kindle a fire on this day, right? So this, actually, I'm going to correct this, right? I'm going to correct this. I'm going to rename this to make it make sense and be more cohesive, right? This is actually a Shabbat one, right? This day 1, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, should be a Shabbat one. So actually, let's do it like this. Stop, right? And let's share window. Okay. So we have the day count, right? New moon, right? Day 1 came in on Thursday, the 27th. Right? So we have Sabbath number 2, right? It's day 8, right? Then we have a working day, working day 2. It's the 10th day of the month, so you separate the lamb on that day, right? You got day 11, day 12, day 13, right? And then you have Pesach. Pesach is also a working day because you're kindling fire, right? So you keep Pesach on the 14th day, right? And then day 15 is a Shabbathwan, right? Shabbathwan, okay? And it's the Feast of Unleavened Bread, okay? So actually, let me come in here. Let's make this more consistent. There we go. Right? Shabbathwan. So it's a special Sabbath, right? So let's read again, right? In the first day shall you have a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahawah 7 days. In the 7th day is an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. So we have a Shabbathwan and we have a Shabbathwan, right? Shabbathwan, right? Special Sabbath. And I'm going to go into the Hebrew and show the definition of Shabbath and then Shabbathwan, right? So this is a special Sabbath. You do no servile work. You can cook, right, for the feast, right, on the first day and on the 7th day. And this is why the Sabbath cycle makes sense, right, that we've already established. They fall on the first, which is the new moon, right? Even if we're looking at the 7th month, right? The 7th month, you have a special new moon, right? The Feast of Trumpets, okay? And then you have the Day of Atonement, right? You have the Feast of Tabernacles, right? You have all these special holidays in these particular months, in the first month and in the 7th month, in the beginning and then in the end, right? Complete. 7 is completion, right? It's not the end of the year, but it's the end of the growing season, of the harvest, right? The Feast of Tabernacles is also known as the Feast of Ingathering. So it's the fall harvest, right? So what we have to understand, and there's going to be more revelations through the Spirit concerning the law, because the law is spiritual, right? About, things being in their season. Now, just a sidebar, right? Put a 1 in the chat if you keep liquor in your home, right? And you drink strong drink on Passover. Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever had strong drink on Passover. Right. Well, we're going to be demonstrating through the Torah, right, and putting things into a proper perspective that in the ancient world we wouldn't be doing that, right? Because everything comes in their season. Now, when it comes to strong drink comes from, like, you distill grain, right? Like, for instance, let's see here. Whiskey comes from like rye and wheat, right? Vodka is made from what grain is used in making vodka? Vodka can be made from various grains, but the most common, including wheat, rye, and corn, right? So all of the liquors that we use needs grain, right? Well, guess what? When we're keeping the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right, we're just starting to get some of, the first wheat, right? And guess what? We can't have leaven in our house, right? So we wouldn't be fermenting things, right? When we go into the rest of the feast days, we would bring them to the temple, right? And the priests would, keep everything into the storehouse so that they can do the work of the Lord, right? Concerning all these different feast days in their due seasons, right? So, the further breakdown is we're gonna go into how you should not be drinking strong drink during the Passover season, right? We wouldn't have been doing that back then. Now, because again, we got to get the leaven out of our house, right? All of these all of these liquors, right? All of these spirits, right? We live in a global world where we import stuff from all over the world, right? Guess what? We would not have been drinking tequila, right? We would not have been drinking tequila in the ancient world. You know why? Because the agave plant does not grow where we're from, right? The agave is indigenous to the Americas, right? So yeah. So when you guys, wine, strong drink, it goes through a fermentation process. It's fermented by yeast, natural yeast, right? So now when you get your Casamigos and you get your Terramana, right? These are not real tequilas, right? The issue is because tequila has become such a high demand commodity, right? Tequila producers are harvesting agave they call them agave piñas, right? So when you look at an agave, it's like this big spiky thing, right? They get huge. Like if they take like 7 years to be able to harvest, right, and to properly make tequila, right? But because of the high demand in this, interconnected global world, right? A lot of distillers are harvesting the agave between 3 to 5 years, and they're adding all types of chemicals and all types of added yeast to make the tequila that we all consume. Right? Again, we would not have been drinking tequila in the ancient world because the agave plant does not exist in the ancient world, right? So anyway, so let's go back here, get the understanding of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So verse 7 of Leviticus 23. In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahawah 7 days. In the seventh day is an holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work therein. Right? So cool, right? You don't do servile work, right? You can cook, right? Because again, guys, the next day is what? The Sabbath. So we're able to prepare, right? Cook on the feast, right? And prepare for the Shabbat, right? You have a Shabbat one, and then we have a Shabbat, right? So we have new moon, right? We have Shabbat number 2, right? Then we have unleavened bread, which is a Shabbat one, so it's a special Sabbath. So, right, you can cook, you can't cook on a Shabbat, right? And then the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is day 7, right? You see, guys, math, the word math, right? Mathematics has a connection to the Hebrew word for truth, right? Because 1 + 1 = 2. That's truth, right? The Hebrew word for truth is amath, right? So men lie, women lie, numbers don't, right? So again, here's day 15, right? And then just with, you see right here how it says +1, +1. It's math, guys. It's just math, right? The 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is day 21, not day 22, right? So this is a day you do no servile work, right? You can cook on this day and prepare for your Shabbat. Very, very simple. Okay, let me check the chat real quick. Anyway, we have that. We have liquor in the house, and I actually thought about making drink a few times, although I was still in the house. Didn't bring myself to drink anything this week. All praise to the Most High, sis. Right, right. The Spirit prevented you from doing that. So now, one thing that I had taught for years, right? Oh yeah, just get the leaven out of your house. If you got any food that's leavened, right? You just put it in your shed. Like I used to put it in my trunk of my car, or put it in my mailbox, right? And what we came to understand through the Spirit, literally, just yesterday, right? On Wednesday, yeah, just yesterday, Wednesday, right? During the day, right? During the morrow, as the scriptures say, right? A brother asked a question about, the feast coming in, and when brothers can eat leavened bread again, right? We have to look at how we would have practically kept this in the ancient world, and how things have gotten uh confused with this modern, right? In this modern world, right? We didn't have baker's yeast, we didn't have baking soda or baking powder, right? You can just go to the grocery store and get some Oreos, right? We would make everything from scratch, right? If you wanted to eat meat, right, you had to separate a goat, separate a sheep, separate a calf, right? You would you know grab some chickens, right? And you would have to slaughter it, right? Now you just get in your car and you go over to goddamn Piggly Wiggly's, right? You go to goddamn Pathmark, right? Whole Foods, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, and it's just right there conveniently for you, right? We've been disconnected and we have discontinued from our heritage, right? So now, I want to also show the Feast of Tabernacles, right? Give me a second. So we're gonna go to the 7th month, right? So let's jump down here. Start here at Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 23. It says, and Yahweh speaking unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, ye shall have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. You shall do no servile work. You shall do no servile work, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. So, new moon, Feast of Trumpets is a Shabbat one, right? It's a Shabbat one, right? So you can cook, right? Read it again. Salaki family. Listen, my voice is completely shot. I have been talking nonstop for the past 3-4 days, right? 4-hour lives, 5-hour lives, on the phone with various brothers and sisters all throughout the day, plus work. Like, my voice is just done, right? I just can't wait for, this is look like the sun is set now. Let me just double check really quick here in Philly. All right, so last light is in 8 minutes. So the sun is getting ready to be set, right? And we're entering into the Shabbat, right? The 4th Shabbat of the month, right? So, the last Shabbat of the month. Now, where are we? Leviticus 23 and 23. It says, and Yahweh speaking to Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. So, right, on Shabbat ones, guys, you cannot buy and sell, right? You can cook, right? You can cook because it's a feast, right? So you have to do all your buying prior to, right? Do all of your buying prior to, right? You cook, right, on this Shabbat. You can cook on the Shabbat. You cannot do servile work. I mean, you don't go to your job, right? You don't go to your plantation. The only thing you can do is cook, right? Make sure everything's good for the feast, right? So, there we go. It says, verse 25, ye shall do no service work therein, but ye shall make an offering made by fire unto Yahawah. So again, fire. You can kindle a fire. You can't kindle a fire on a normal new moon, and you can't, because it's a Sabbath, and you can't kindle a fire on a Shabbat, right? Verse 26, it says, and Yahawah speaking to Moses, saying, also in the 10th day of this month, in the 10th day of this month, right? You see the 10 right there? Let's highlight. In the 10th day of the month, right? We got the first day. We see, boom. It says, also on the 10th day of this month, there shall be a day of atonement, right? See, 10th day, day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Now, that would be the priest. The priest will be doing that, right? So, guys, we don't have a priesthood. Don't be cooking anything, right? So let's read it. It says, verse 28, and ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is the day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahawah your God. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. He's cast out. You're cut off from among the people, right? If you do that, right? It says, and whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, that same soul will I destroy from among his people. So if you work on the Day of Atonement, let's read it again. Verse 30, Leviticus 23 and 30. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, any work, you don't do anything, right? That same soul will I destroy from among his people. Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. In all your dwellings. Okay? So you cannot work, right? Guys, the count, like, again, it's a Sunday, right? It's Sunday into Monday. Right? It's Sunday into Monday when you go into it. So let me go over to the visual. Boom. Right. So guess what? You guys got to take off Monday, September 1st. Take that day off. Right? Put your PTO request in. Right? If you don't have PTO, tell your boss, listen, I cannot work on this day whatsoever, no matter what. There's nothing that I don't listen. A lot of y'all, right? Y'all not willing to lose jobs, right, to please the Most High, right? Today, right, the feast got away from me, right? I didn't even realize how many days had passed already. Oh, fuck yo, y'all. See, it's the Shabbat. Listen, when the Shabbat come in, man, I am just naturally tired. Last night's in 3 minutes right now. I just get tired, right? It's a day of rest. I'm tired. I just want to chill out and relax, right? But like I said, a lot of y'all just are not willing to lose your job, right? I had an appointment scheduled for today, for earlier today. I'm just used to putting on my time off, right? Blocking off my calendar for the Shabbat every week, right? And my boss understands that it changes from month to month. All praise to the Most High. This is something that, it's been my focus, right? Like literally, like the catalyst to me even embarking on the path of coming to the truth was me having a meeting with my pastor, right, Dr. Eric Mason at the time, and asking him, if the Sabbath is the seventh day, right? Well, why are we in church on Sunday instead of Saturday? Like, I didn't understand, right? But I was trying to keep the Sabbath, right? Again, not keeping the Sabbath, profaning the Sabbath is a sin punishable by death. Okay. Working on the Day of Atonement is a sin punishable by death. The Most High will destroy you, right? So put in the time, right? You're going to have to take off that Monday, right? Take off that Monday, right? And again, depending on your job, right? If you do a night shift, right, and your night shift is on Monday, you're good, right? Just make sure that you take off. You're not working on that day, okay? So now let's go back into Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. It says, in the ninth day of the month at even, from even to even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. Right? So that's why we have day 9, the pre-atonement Shabbat. Right? So this is a Shabbat one, right? You can cook. That's it. No servile work. Right? This is a regular Sabbath. So you have your transition day, day 8, which would normally be your Sabbath, right? To, do all your cooking and you're preparing for the Shabbat, right? Eat something good. We got, a whole bunch of probably summer fruit that have, we've been able to store up, right? And guess what? We got all these fruits and vegetables. Like, load up on fruits and vegetables. Hydrate yourself with your fruits and vegetables on your pre-atonement Sabbath, right? Don't be yamming down some oxtail, right? Not saying you can't, right? But think about it. You're getting ready to go into a day of atonement. You want to make sure that your body is well hydrated, right? Speaking of hydration, yeah, I need a little hydration right now. So, you want to make sure, like I said, you make sure yourself is well hydrated, on this day, on day 9, the pre-atonement Shabbat, right? Get yourself prepared for your Shabbat one, right? Oh, wow. Bear with me. Yes, please. All right. So Princess laYAHAWah, so you said, from our understanding, it's the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So ketchup and other condiments are okay to leave in the house because it's not breaded, so to say. Yeah, I don't think ketchup has leaven in it, right? I don't think most condiments have leaven in it. So yeah, like anything that's breaded, right? Like, again, if you got Oreos in the pantry, get them out, right? You got breadcrumbs, get it out, right? You can't have any leaven in your homes, right? Any leaven. Let's see. Anyway, so let's get back here, right? So again, we see here in verse 32 of Leviticus 23, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, right? You shall afflict your souls. Talking about the Day of Atonement, right? DOA. Um, as our small hat friends call it, Yom Kippur, right? It's Yom Kippurium. Yom Kippurium in the ancient tongue, right? So you keep your Yom Kippurium in the 10th day, right? It says, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest. Ye shall afflict your souls. In the ninth day of the month at even, from even to even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. So your normal Sabbath, this is when you're keeping it, right? Right here. Right. This right here destroys the whole idea of fixed Friday to Saturday Sabbath, right? Let's keep reading, right? Verse 33. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, on the 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. For 7 days unto the Lord. For 7 days, right? On the Sakari calendar, right? The Feast of Tabernacles ran from the 15th to the 22nd, right? Sabbath to Sabbath. That's incorrect, right? Let's keep reading, right, and see how this makes sense, right? It says, on the first day shall be a holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire. So all 7 days, right, we would have made an offering made by fire, right? 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation. Ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. Right? So technically, even this, right? Even day 22. Let's read this, right? Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 36. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you. Ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. So truly, this is another Shabbat one, right? So this is a special Sabbath, right? Shabbat one, right? No servile work, right? Meaning you don't go to the plantation, right? You can cook, have a good old time, right? And then you go back to regularly scheduled program, right? Very, very simple. Let's keep reading. It says, verse 37, these are the feasts of Yahweh, which he shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon his day. Everything upon his day. Each day he has specific things to do on his day, right? Beside the Sabbaths of Yahweh, and beside your gifts, beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which he give unto Yahweh, right? So when it says beside all your vows, so for instance, if you take a Nazarite vow, right, on your feast days, right, you can have your drink offerings, right? And of course, it wouldn't be of wine, right? You would get something, of a different type of drink, right? Let's keep reading. Cannot consume grapes if you're Nazarite, right? Let's keep reading. It says, also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto Yahweh 7 days. On the first day ye shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th shall be a Sabbath. And ye shall take you on the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook. And ye shall rejoice before Yahweh your God 7 days. And ye shall keep it a feast unto Yahweh 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month. Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. So in the ancient world, right, we wouldn't have like regular tents, right? We would have to go and chop down branches and make booths, right? That word is Sakawath, right? Or as our small hat friends will call it, Sukkoth, right? Sakawath. That's the name for the Feast of Tabernacles, right? Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths. You have to. It says that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh your God. And Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feast of Yahweh. Right. So now let's go to Exodus chapter 12. Right. to further substantiate the point about, when the leaven needs to be removed from the home, because again, a lot of y'all are getting ready to keep the feast of Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread this upcoming month, right? I believe New Moon is the 28th, right? New Moon is Friday the 28th, right? So we about to be on Friday, Saturday, Shabbat, right? If you follow the proper Sabbath, right, your Sabbath will be Friday to Saturday, okay? So right now it's Thursday to Friday. So Exodus chapter 12 and verse. I'm going to start at verse 14. It says, "And this day shall be unto you a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to Yahawah throughout your generation. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever." Right? Ordinance forever. Verse 15. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses, right? For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day unto the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel, right? So it's talking specifically about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? You can't eat any leavened bread these 7 days, right? Verse 16. "And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you." So again, when you see no servile work, the only thing you can do is cook. That's it, right? And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. This is verse 17. "And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this self same day I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first month," right? Verse 18, "in the first month, on the 14th, which is Passover, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread." Because again, part of keeping Passover, you have to keep and eat unleavened bread with the bitter herbs, right? It says, "In the first month of the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 1 and 20th day at even. 7 days there shall be no leaven found in your houses, for whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land." Whether he be a stranger or born in the land. When you see that phraseology, whether he be a stranger or born in the land, right? It's talking about an Israelite, because not every Israelite would be born in the land of Israel. So when you come back, right, you're a stranger. Like, for instance, any of my brothers and sisters who are Jamaicans, right? When you're foreign, right? When you're Yankee, you go backyard, them call you a Yankee. Them treat you different, right? Because sometimes they treat you different, right? Sometimes they treat you special, right? But we're told to not oppress the stranger, vex the guard, right, of our people, the sojourners of our people. Like, for instance, back in 2000 and what was it, 20? Man, I'll tell you, these years are starting to just mess together, guys. Had to be 22. Yeah, 2022. Of course, I kept Passover with Sakari, as I was a member of Sakari in Atlanta, right? And the brothers of Rangadal Gabarium, they kept Passover together like 2 weeks later, right? And I actually traveled from my home in Philadelphia, drove up to Massachusetts where the brothers had their Passover, and they treated me just like one of their own, right? I was a stranger in that instance, right? I was a stranger in that instance. So that's how we we're supposed to do. We're supposed to love our brothers, right? We're supposed to have camaraderie, right? Brotherhood, right? Right. So, that's what we got to do, Israel, right? We got to come back to brotherly love, right? And again, for anyone who wants to be a scoffer and say, "Oh, well, it doesn't sound like brotherly love what you was doing the other day." Brotherly love is the keeping of God's commandments, and part of keeping of God's commandments is judgment, and part of judgment, right, is rebuke, and part of judgment is, again, in the ancient world, right? If we was in the land of Israel, right, we had our own jurisdiction. Guess what? The things that we see happening in this nation, right? When judgment is when a trial is had and evidence is examined and witnesses are interrogated, 2 or 3 witnesses in a case of capital punishment, the execution of the punishment is love, right? For instance, when we look at the Torah, right? When we look at the Bible, right? Let me actually I said I was going to go into Shabbat and Shabbat one as well. Let's go here. Boom. All right, so let's go to all right, so we have Shabbat. That's your regular Sabbath. All right, we have a Shabbat one. Let's look at a Shabbat one. Shabbat one from 87676. Shabbat. It says a Sabbatism or a special holiday. A special holiday. A special holiday. So the Shabbat ones are special holidays, right? Not to be confused with the normal Shabbat, right? Intermission is intensive of 87673. Intermission. Either Sabbath. What is an intermission? When something stops. If you go, so for instance, me and my wife, we went to watch the Michael Jackson play down in downtown Philly, I think at the Academy of Music. Right. It travels on, some of them travel all throughout the country, right? They also have the one on Broadway, but we live here in Philly, and it was an amazing show, right? But you have the first act, and then you have the second act, and in between the first and second act, you have an intermission where you cease from the show, right? It's a break, it's a Sabbath for the people doing the play. It's a break. We stop. That's what a Sabbath is. A Sabbath is not to be confused with a Shabbat one, a special holiday, right? And when we look at the different holy days, right? Some are Shabbat one, some are just regular Shabbats, right? And this is why, we got to get back to the basics, guys. We got to get back to, diving into the scriptures, right? In me doing this, right? And I actually started making that spreadsheet I was showing you guys. I think it was the day that it was day 10, the day that we actually went up and got the lamb, right? The day we went up and got the lamb, we separated the lamb. That's when I started that portion of the spreadsheet. So let me just go in here. I think there's a couple questions. Can you explain the proper time and knowledge of Feast of Weeks? How do you determine the Feast of Fruits while on one island land? Can you explain the proper time and knowledge of Feast of Weeks? Yeah, for right now, I'm not going to dive into that just today, right? I'll do another lesson on that. So just tap in J on the yeah, big Lando. I'm not a Benjamite. But let me show you guys something, right? It's a young brother named Aaron. He's typically here in the chat and whatnot. Real cool brother, man. I met him for the first time down at the Friends Up Fest in Atlanta. It was like 4th of July weekend. And if you guys are not following me on Instagram, you can follow me at LionOfYahawah. I think it's Genesis 44. That, right? So the brother, I thought he was a Judite. And I met him. I don't know why I thought he was a Judite, but when we used to just converse, and we would talk back and forth on Instagram. Also, the brother used to be on Clubhouse a lot, so I would see him. What I mean, like we would chat on Clubhouse as well. Real cool brother, you know what I mean. And I posted on Instagram that me and my wife were expecting, and brother, responded to my story and congratulated us. I was all praise to the Most High, the Water King. He was like, "Yeah, my wife and I are expecting as well." I said, "Oh, praise to the Most High." I said, "When y'all do?" Right. So we're doing September right around the Feast of Tabernacles, which is the Feast of Ingathering, right? And he was like, "Yeah, we're doing September as well." And the due date is literally the 4th day of the Feast of Tabernacles, which literally is in the middle of the week, right? So I said 4th day for Yahawashi, right, for Judah, right? And then he responded, he's like, yeah, he's a for year 4 for Judah. And then he said he's a Benjamite, right, with a Levite name. So the brother's he's gonna name his child a typical Levitical name. And I was like, oh snap, I thought you was a Judite the whole time, right? I said, you're a Benjamite. I said, oh, there's no wonder why I always rock with you, right? Because Judah and Benjamin got a real special relationship, right? And I want to show you here, right? Especially like brothers, right? So let's see. Him in Genesis 44. So again, right now in Genesis 44, this is when the patriarchs, Joseph, he's in Egypt, right? He's in Egypt, and he's been exalted after his brothers threw him in a damn ditch. He got enslaved, ended up in prison, all types of stuff, right? He finally gets exalted by Salakia family, by Pharaoh. And there's a famine in the land of Canaan, and that's where Jacob, Yasharahla, Israel, and his sons are dwelling, right? The sons have children, right? This is a big family, right? Everyone's just all communal, right? That must have been dope, right? To have, all your brothers, right? All your cousins. That would have been that must have been dope, right? So they were in the land of Canaan, but it was a famine. And in the land of Israel, in the land of Egypt, right? There was 7 years of plenty, and because the famine came, right, and Joseph was able to interpret that dream, right, he gave Pharaoh some wise counsel, and this is a very important lesson when you look at the story of Joseph and him interpreting that dream of the milk kind, or the cows that were, I think it was 7 cows that were, that were strong, and it was 7 that were weak, right? So again, 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine, because the famine came across the whole land as a punishment against the Canaanites, right? And of course, we're dwelling amongst the Canaanites. So during those 7 years of plenty, right, they brought all of the grain and all the excess of food, and they stored it up. They took 20%, took a fifth part each year and stored it up, because the 7 years of plenty, it was more bountiful than normal, right? So you had excess, right? And that excess allowed through the wisdom that the Most High God gave gave Joseph, they were able to set that aside, right, for what? A rainy day, a rainy day, right? A not so rainy day because a famine was coming, right? Without a famine, you don't have, rain, right? So that's the context, right? So let me see. This is the lad. So let's start right here. Let me just start from verse 15. It says, and Joseph said unto them, what deed is this that ye have done? What ye not that such a man as I certainly divine? And Judah said, what shall we say unto you, my lord? What shall we speak? Or how shall we clear ourselves? God hath found out the iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we and he also, with whom the cup is found. And he said, God forbid that I should do so, but the man whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, get you up in peace unto your father. Right. So Joe kicks him out. Right. Joe's playing a game with them because he knows, like, yeah, I got a little brother. Right. I know y'all. Y'all are my brothers. I see y'all. They didn't recognize him. Right. Because think about it, they haven't seen him in years. Imagine if you haven't seen your brother in years. Now, this also proves that the children of Israel were black, right? They were people of color, right? They weren't, these people with the little curlies and whatnot, in the bra cups on their heads. Like that wasn't going on, right? He was able to recognize them, but they were not able to recognize him because he just blended in with the rest of the Egyptians, right? The Egyptians were black, so if the Israelites were not black, Joe would have stuck out like a sore thumb, right? Let's keep reading. It says, verse 18, then Judah came near unto him and said, O my Lord, let thy servant, I pray thee, speak a word in my Lord's ear, and let not thy anger burn against thy servant, for thou art even as Pharaoh. My Lord asked his servants, saying, have ye a father or a brother? And we said unto my Lord, we have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age, a little one, and his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother, and his father loveth him. And thou saidst unto thy servants, bring him down unto me, that I may set my eye upon him. And we said unto my Lord, the lad cannot leave his father, for if he should leave his father would die. Meaning, listen, Jacob was so distraught over, losing Rachel, right? Rachel was that woman that he loved, right? He loved that woman, man. He worked 14 years for her, right? Worked 14 years. I know a brother in Christ who worked a long time for a woman, right? So just like you put in work for a woman. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. Rachel had to be the baddest joint, right? That Pops worked 14 years for her, right? It says, and thou saidest unto thy servants, except your youngest brother come down with you, ye shall see my face no more. And it came to pass when we came up unto thy servant, my father, we told him the words of my Lord. And our father said, go again and buy us a little food. And we said, we cannot go down if our youngest brother be with us. Then, Slakim, we cannot go down if our youngest brother be with us. Then we will go down, for we may not see the man's face except our youngest brother be with us. And thy servant, my father, said unto us, actually, I think I need to read verse chapter 43. Give me a second. We know that my wife bare me 2 sons, and the one went out from me, and I said, surely he is torn in pieces, and I saw him not since. And if he take this also from me, the mischief befall him, ye shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. Now therefore, when I come to thy servant my father, and the lad be not with us, seeing that his life is bound up in the lad's life, it shall come to pass when he seeth that the lad is not with us, that he will die, and thy servant shall bring down the gray hairs of thy servant our father with sorrow to the grave. For thy servant became surety, Slakia, for thy servant became surety for the lad unto my father, saying, if I bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father forever. So now Judah's having this conversation, right? And we read the totality of this other story. Judah actually, told Jacob, right? Israel, like, listen, I'll be responsible for the lad, right? Because Benjamin was young. Benjamin was a young, he was young, right? Pops had him when he was old, right? And of course, his mama died giving birth to him, and like that was a lot for Pops, right? So he wasn't he wasn't trying to let little Benji leave the crib, right? So the fact that Judah, right, the one of the older brothers, right, and then you have Benjamin, who's super duper young, right? Him telling Pops, listen, I'll be responsible for him, right? That's that connection between Benjamin and Judah. So, I grew up around a lot of Jamaicans, brother Big Lando. You know what I mean? You know, I got a lot of Jamaican friends in college, right? A lot. Listen, I got Jamaican friends who were born backyard, right? And they call me an honorary Jamaican. So, I love the tribe of Benjamin. The tribe of Benjamin is literally one of my favorite tribes, especially Jamaicans. Jamaicans are some of the funniest people on the planet Earth, right? All Benjamites are just funny in general, right? It's hilarious. So shout out to the tribe of Benji, right? Let me see if there's any more questions in here. 3 years. You see that? You see that, brother? 3 years straight. Listen. I had this question for even longer. I had this question for even longer. I'm like, yo, this don't make sense. I was like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's 8 days. It says the feast is 7 days. I said that does not make sense. But now, through the spirit and power of Yahawashi, right? Through truth, through simple math, through mathematics, right? We are able to determine, right, how to properly keep the calendar, right? So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna revamp the visual calendar so that it's a little bit more clear for brothers and sisters, right? A little bit more clear for brothers and sisters to read and know what you can and cannot do on these days, right? So give me like Lord willing, like about a couple days, I'll have a new calendar out ready to go. That's visual, right? Again, the dates aren't changing, right? Just doing the visual, right, to make it make more sense, right? So that brothers and sisters are not confused when it comes to the feast days, right? All praise to the Most High. So King Chronicles, the Feast of Unleavened Bread ended just like, last night was the beginning of day 7 of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Right now we're in the Sabbath, right? Right. So let's go back here. So to the brother's question, right? The brother King Chronicles, right? So, right, we have the Feast of Unleavened Bread started Thursday, March 13th at even, right? Right. And the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a Shabbath-wan. A Shabbath-wan is a special Sabbath. A special Sabbath. With the special Sabbaths, the only thing that you do, you have all the same restrictions as the normal Sabbath, as a normal Shabbat, with the exception that you can cook on that day, right? You can cook on the Shabbat-wan, okay? So day 7 of this Feast of Unleavened Bread is also a Shabbat-wan, a special Sabbath, right? Where you can cook on this day, right? You don't do any servile work, meaning you don't go to the plantation, right? You don't buy or sell, because when we go into the word for work in the Hebrew, right? Actually, let me show you really quickly, right? I'll do it in a second, right? You don't cook. I mean, you can cook on the Shabbat one. You cannot work, right? Do servile work, and you cannot buy and sell, right? And then right now, this is today, right? Thursday, March 20th, right? The sun is down here, at least here on the East Coast, right? This is a Shabbat. For the prohibitions for the Shabbat, there's no kindling of fires. There's no cooking, right? You're supposed to bake what you're going to bake and seethe what you're going to seethe the day prior, right? Where was I, right? So that's what you can't do on the Shabbat, right? You don't work, you don't cook, it's a day of rest, right? But the special Sabbath, which is a Shabbat one, is when you can actually cook. That's the only thing you can do, okay? So hope that answers your question, brother. Yo, let me tell you something. They are some of the most stubborn brothers. They can be very, very stubborn. That is a fact. That is a fact. I done spent a lot of time around Benjamites. Them headstrong, right? Them two eggs up, right? Benjamin, them two eggs up, right? Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to do a breakdown on this, right? Do not use a microwave on the Sabbath. Do not use a microwave on the Sabbath, right? Like when you really go into, how one kindles a fire, right? Use friction, right? You're creating what's called heat to get a spark, right? That's how you kindle a fire. When you look at the Hebrew word for kindle, it means to begin to burn. How do you begin to burn something? And what is fire, right? How do you kindle a fire? You cannot kindle a fire without creating heat, right? So using a microwave, using an air fryer on the Sabbath, you are beginning that process, right? Do not use a microwave on the Sabbath, right? So I'll let you know what me and my house, what we do, right? Because again, you cannot begin a fire on the Sabbath. When we look at Numbers 15, where the man was collecting sticks on the Sabbath day, he was not prepared, right? He didn't collect enough sticks the day prior, right? And his fire went out, right? So he was cold, right? And the nigga went out to pick up sticks, right? To either keep himself warm or to what? Or to cook, because niggas, right, make excuses. Niggas just don't prepare, right? That's the problem, right? That is our problem. So guess what? Nigga got put to death for kindling up for picking up sticks, because what was the intent, right? Yahweh tries the reins of the hearts, right? That's what was his intent, right? So guess what? He got put to death because profaning the Sabbath, right, is a sin punishable by death, right? Can you say I would not fast on the Sabbath, because a Sabbath is supposed to be a holy convocation, right? So I wouldn't fast on the Sabbath. Actually, when you read the story of Judith, Judith fasted all the days except for the Sabbaths and feast days, right? All praise to the Most High. He said, "Watch." So his name is LionOfYahawah, right? LionOfYahawah is how you say his name. That's Hilkiah. So CHAALAQ Yahawa, right? YAHAWA, right? That's how you pronounce that. But he said, "Watch and priest, LionOfYahawah slaughter the lamb, put me in the spirit deeply, and I will keep Passover how you guys did ASAP, Lord willing, next rotation. All praise to the Most High, King, right?" So that's how you spell LionOfYahawah, right? All praise to the Most High. Right. Well, family, it was a pleasure, you know, being able to come before you and edify you guys on this you know, close of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, entering into, the final Shabbat of the first month, right? And I pray you brothers and sisters were edified, right? Listen, man, a lot of noise, a lot of nonsense going on in the nation, right? What we see going on should be a faith booster, right? And it should be a kick in the butt, right? To get your ish together, right? To start striving towards perfection, right? That's what we have to do. I think that's. Let me go. Actually, before let's get a precept real quick. I think it's Hebrews 6. I'm looking for Hebrews 6, right? It says, therefore, leaving the principles. Like, what is a principle? Right? Look up. Principle, fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief. Right? Principle. Right? They're the basics, right? They're the rudimentary things, right? Therefore, leaving the principles of the doctrine of Christ, let us go on unto perfection, not laying again the foundation of repentance from dead works in the faith toward God. Because again, you have to believe in God. You have to have faith, right? You have faith, right? But you have faith. You believe in God, and then that faith gets turned. It fuels your action, right? Because if you believe in God, right, and you believe how powerful He is, you believe who He is. Like for instance, I'll come back here really quickly. Come back to Hebrews 6, right? So Hebrews 11:1. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, right? We've never seen God, right? You know, He's the invisible God. It says, for by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, Yahawashi, right? So that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear, right? I'm gonna jump down to, we see these examples of, Abel, right? Enoch, right? It says, verse 6, but without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, right? Must believe that he is. Now, what is God's name? Yahawah. What does Yahawah mean? It means he is. Yah means he. Hawah, right, is a sense of is a inflected version of the word hayah, right? The Hebrew verb hayah, which means to be, right? Like to be is the state of existence, right? So this bottle is in my hand, right? Is, right? I am sitting on this chair, right? So the verb to be, right, has different forms or conjugations, right, in the English language. Same thing in the Spanish language, right? So you have the word said, the Spanish verb said, which means to be, right? Yo soy, I am. Tú eres, you are. Él, ella es, right? What's the other one? Nosotros somos, we are, right? If you're in Spain, vosotros sois, right? Ellos, ellas son, right? They are, right? That's what it means to be or to exist, right? So in the Hebrew, right, the verb is hayah, which means to be, right? When the angel that was in the burning bush, which was Yahawashi, spoke to Moses, he said, hayah. Ah in front of a verb means I'm doing said action. Ahaya, asha, ahaya, right? But moreover, right, thou shalt say that YAHAWAH, YAHAWAH, he's existence, right? So it says, without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, right? You cannot be diligently seeking God if you're being disobedient. Imagine that, right? You got a shorty, right? You know what I mean? She court you courting, right? And she just will not do anything to show that she's wanting to be a proper helpmate, to be what a wife is supposed to be, right? It's like, oh, I'm moving on to the next one. Listen, I ain't done with this shorty, right? I tell her to chill out, right? In a situation she got getting all hostile out in the streets. I tell her to chill out. I tell her, let's go, we're leaving, right? And she wanna right? Listen, this bit might get me killed. She not listening, right? That's the same thing with us as a nation, right? We're called the Most High God's wife, right? And because we did not listen, he divorced us. He cast us off. But through his son Hamashiach Yahawashi, right, dying for those sins that got us cast off, right? We now have redemption through his blood, right? And now the Most High God is saying, listen, baby, listen, I'll give you one more chance, right? I'll bring you back, right? Listen, right? The Most High God, listen, he's been singing to Israel like Biggie. Listen, listen, baby, I'll give you one more chance. Now we need to act like Faith Evans and say, baby, give us one more chance. Yahawah, give us one more chance. Like, put that into perspective, right? You know, the book of Baruch. I think it's Baruch chapter 4. Yep. Baruch chapter 4 and verse 28. It says, actually, verse 27. It says, be of good comfort, O my children, and cry unto God, right? We got to beg the Most High. Father, give us one more chance, right? In the sense of him being our husband. Baby, give me one more chance, right? Forgive me, right? That's what we got to do. We have to cry unto the Most High God. For you shall be remembered of him that brought these things upon you, right? The Most High God brought this punishment upon us, right? Due to our disobedience and us not diligently seeking him and keeping his commandments and serving him, all right, in truth and sincerity, right? Verse 28. For as it was your mind to go astray from God, so being returned, seek him 10 times more. For he that brought these plagues upon you shall bring you everlasting joy again with your salvation, right? With our salvation, the children of Israel. We're the ones that the Most High God is going to save. We're the only ones that need saving, okay? That's what we got to do, family, right? We got to seek the Most High God. We got to return unto him. All right, let's go back to Hebrews 11:6, right? So it says, but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, right? We got to diligently seek the Most High God in truth and sincerity, all right? Let me just make sure there's no more questions, right? Breakdown coming very, very soon, right? Mushrooms are not unlawful, right? Mushrooms are not unlawful. Sea moss is not unlawful. Full breakdown on mushrooms and sea moss coming very, very soon. Tune in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon, right? Make sure you guys are also subscribed to. Let's do it like this. God damn it, this one on YouTube. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the House of Bread channel, right? So make sure you guys subscribe. Link is in the chat, right? So M Sordam, what you want to do is after this, like, you can go back. I literally go and break down like how you keep tabernacles, right? So watch this, go back and watch this video, right? It's very, very simple, right? So you don't have to dwell in the booths for 8 days, right? So on the 7th day, you dwell in the booths, right? And then the 8th day is still a holy convocation, and you have a big old bonfire, right? It's not bonfire. Like, you have a offering to the Lord, right? You have a holy convocation. Just have a good old time. You mean, you out chilling in the woods with the Akim, right? You know what I mean? And you have that holy convocation, right? The day prior, is also a Shabbat one, right? And you make the offering unto the Lord. So you can break down your tents and everything, and go on home, right? He saw Yahawashi, right? When you read, I went into this not too long ago. When you go into number 6, the Most High God rebukes Aaron and Miriam for running their mouth against Moses. And he said, listen, if I talk to a prophet, right, I'm going to talk to him in a vision and a dream, right? That's you two, all right? Now, my servant Moses, on the other hand, not so. I deal with him differently than y'all. So watch your damn mouth, all right? My servant Moses, he's the most faithful in all my house, right? And with him, I'll talk mouth to mouth, even apparently, right? And he shall see my similitude, right? That's Yahawashi. Yahawashi is the express image of the Father, right? So yeah. All right, family. Again, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like, share the video. All right. Make sure you also subscribe to the House of Bread channel, right? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh shanyam-ishar, right? Again, the water for tuning in, family. Appreciate y'all. Shabbat Shalawam, right? Again, I want to give all praise, glory, honor to Yahweh shanyam-ishar. Till next time, I'll pray you brothers and sisters were edified. Shalawam and Matawathya.